Welcome to Creative Power, a podcast designed to help you claim the full spectrum of your creative potential. I'm Camilla Fellis-Arnold, and I'm passionate about discussing how we change the face of both the creative industries and how we interact with creativity itself, so that it nourishes our soul and helps us express ourselves with alignment, flow, and authenticity. Let's get started. Welcome to episode 7 of Creative Power, and welcome to 2022. Now, as we're at the start of a new year, a lot of people's thoughts will turn to New Year's resolutions. And if you're one of those people looking to change or improve something this year, I highly recommend that you go back one episode and listen to my top 5 tips for building a daily practice of anything, if you haven't done so already. In that episode, I shared tips that I have learned from building my own daily practices in a way that was much more sustainable than trying to change everything overnight a la New Year's resolutions. You see, I'm an all or nothing kind of girl, and I generally want to jump right into something and just go for it when I've decided what I want to do, which can be fun and exciting. But it can also mean that you stretch yourself too far out of your comfort zone too quickly, that you can't sustain it, and then you give up and you snap back, and then you feel even worse than before because now you've perceived yourself to have failed. Obviously, no one wants to feel like a failure, so I stopped making New Year's resolutions as a result, and instead started building some more intentional, slower paced, but consistent and long-lasting daily practices instead. So if you want to hear those tips, give it a listen in episode 6. So while I personally don't do New Year's resolutions, I do, however, spend a lot of time reflecting on the year that's passed and the upcoming year too. And one thing that I do like to do, and I wanted to share it with you today, is that I come up with a word for the year. It can be any word you like, but the idea is that this word sets the theme and focus for your year. I find this quite helpful because, although of course I do like to set goals as much as the next person, what I find is that this word of the year works almost like a mantra. It's the overarching theme that informs your goals, your actions, your intentions, and everything in between. So if you're like me and not into making rigid resolutions, but you actually want to aim for evolution and growth over the entire year rather than just ticking stuff off a to-do list, then choosing a word of the year is the thing for you. Now, I've been thinking about my word of the year for a little bit of time now, and the word that I have chosen for this year is joy. I talked about this quite a lot in episode 3 when I talked about joy being the driver for creativity, and I mentioned how I used focusing on finding the joy as a way of helping me move through burnout this year. Last year even. It's been quite a revolutionary practice for me, to be honest, and although I'm definitely not done chasing the joy or integrating being joyful in my life, I figure that I'm going to set it as my word of the year, and that way that will help me keep it front and center of my mind. Then that means that being my word of the year, I'll infuse it into all of my decision making. I'll be weaving joy into my goals, my dreams, my interactions, my actions, everything. So get ready for these episodes to get a lot more joyful as a result. Of course, I don't know how joy will manifest fully throughout the year, but by keeping it as my ongoing theme, it's something that I can always come back to any moment. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can choose your word for the year, and different methods might work for different people. So I'll explain a few, and hopefully you'll try one or two and your word will jump right out at you. And when it does, when it feels like a yes, claim it. That's your word of the year. So the simplest way to find your word of the year, and this will probably work well for you if you're an intuitive person, is to get very comfortable and still. Sit with the intention that your word for the year will come to you with ease. Do some deep breathing, let your mind empty, and then listen inwards. Don't force it. Allow it to come to you. What comes to mind? It could come to you as a word or a feeling, maybe in shapes, colours, or some kind of visual. Be open to your word coming to you in any of those forms, or even something else. If you like to do guided meditations, or just meditate in general, frame this as your question when you go into your meditation and see what comes out of it. And if lots of ideas and feelings and visuals pop up, then feel them out. Which one feels right? Weigh it up. So often we forget to tune into ourselves, but the word will be there within you. Another way you could find your word of the year, and this is how I chose my word, is to think about how you want to feel. What do you want more of in your life this year? Is it joy, like me? Maybe it's abundance, sunshine, flow, confidence, passion, adventure. It could be anything. Think over the last year and perhaps make a list of things that happened, both good and bad. When you write about those negative things, think about how you would like to feel instead and write those positive words down. And for those good moments of last year, sum up how you felt in a word for each of them. And then look over this list and circle any that jump out at you. Don't agonize over it. Just if you feel yourself hesitating over a word, then move on because it's not the right fit. We want our word of the year to feel like a great big yes. Now, you may find that you circle a few words, and that is okay. You don't have to choose your word in one sitting. You can leave it to simmer for a few days and come back with fresh eyes. In fact, if you're really unable to decide and it hasn't come to you immediately, then I recommend that you absolutely do walk away and come back to it later. Giving yourself that space will let you think much more clearly, and you'll be able to narrow it down much easier. If you're into journaling, try answering these questions without overthinking it too much. Simply allow your pen to flow. Here are some questions you could try. What feelings do you want more of in 2022? What feelings do you want less of in 2022? How do you feel now at the start of the year? How do you want to feel by the end of the year? These questions can highlight and help you get to the heart of how you really feel and how you want to feel so that you can bridge that gap. You'll probably notice as you answer those questions that certain words, feelings, or phrases keep popping up. Note these down because they are the clues that will lead you to your word or theme of the year. And if you've got a few words that are fairly similar, think about how you could link them together. Maybe there's some kind of symbol or metaphor that could represent them that you could use, almost like a totem for the year. And then you could actually get that totem. Say that a lot of your words are, to do with adventure and activity, and you link them together by the representation of an eagle So you could get something with an eagle on it and put it somewhere that you would see it every day. And that's your totem that will remind you to keep coming back to your word and theme of the year. Another way that you could find your word of the year is through visualization. I love visualization as a tool, and I think it's one of the best ways to help you find your word of the year. And that is to use it to visualize your perfect day. And when I say visualize the perfect day, I mean really, really, really visualize it. Go into great detail. Take your time. Make this into a whole event. Put on some relaxing music or a meditation track and feel into this one really, really deeply. Get multi-sensory with the visualization too. It's not just about where or what time you wake up. It's about the feel of the sheets. Maybe it's the silk pajamas you're wearing or the perfume you wore to bed, Marilyn Monroe style. Have fun with this. It is your perfect day after all. And once you visualize that perfect day, really run it through from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, the entire perfect day. And once you've visualized it, or perhaps you've written it as a diary entry, think about how you want to feel during this perfect day. What themes can you see in the day, or themes in how you're feeling, what you're thinking, what you're doing. If your perfect day involves lots of activities, maybe choose a word that represents an adventure or whatever those actions are that would work well for you. One thing to remember when you're choosing a word is that although I've talked a lot about words that feel positive and feel like a yes, you can also choose a word that scares you a little bit. Because chances are you want to change something about your life. You want to grow and evolve in some way over the course of the year. And let's be honest, change isn't easy. So it's okay to choose a word that makes you feel a little bit nervous. It's okay to choose a word that you're not sure you have a roadmap for working with it. It's okay to choose a word that reminds you to stretch out of your comfort zone if that's what you need. As long as you are choosing a word based on what you want to achieve and what you feel you want and need out of the year, then the word will be perfect, regardless of how you feel about it right in this minute. Because I'm going to be honest, I've chosen joy, so it means that everything in my life is going to go through a lens where I ask myself, where is the joy in this? Everything will be dissected and put back together again in a new shape. I genuinely don't have any idea how to do any of that or how it will look, but I'm leaning into feeling excited and joyful about continuing this path I've set myself on to rebuild my life in a truly joyful way. I don't have a roadmap. I don't know what stuff will come up as a result of me focusing on joy for the year. I have no idea what might change or what possibilities I'm creating in choosing this word. But I'm open to seeing what happens. And most importantly, I'm committed to seeing it through. Now, before I hand this over to you, the last thing I want to say is once you've chosen your word, don't just write it down and forget about it. Tell a friend to keep yourself accountable. Write it on a postcard and pin it up somewhere that you can see it every day. Better yet, make a vision board or collage, either with good old scissors and glue or use Canva. And, use Canva on the theme and make a vision board. Hang it somewhere that you can look at it regularly so that it embeds in your subconscious. Get yourself on Etsy or Not on the High Street and buy some colourful artwork with the word on, or a mug or some kind of design that represents this word to you. Now, if you're really stuck for ideas for your word of the year, in the show notes, I'm going to link to a PDF that I've created with some ideas that might inspire you or give you a starting point. And on that note, this is where I hand the challenge over to you. Are you going to choose a word for this year? What word are you choosing for this year and why? I'd love to hear what you've chosen. It's always amazing and interesting to see the breadth of words that people choose. And I'd love to hear how you plan to call more of that word, more of that theme into your life. So don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and Twitter, or come join me in my mighty network. Just search for Creative Power and you'll find the group. And you can come let me know what word you are choosing. So that's it for today. Good luck finding your word of the year, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening to Creative Power today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and consider leaving a review. To find out more ways you can connect or work with me, please visit www.camillafellisarnold.com/creative power.